My girlfriend always told she was loyal, so I had my handsome, rich friend test her. She immediately hit on him and even went to his hotel. Then I walked in and asked my friend, "So is this the girl?" She was left frantically stammering as she realized she'd been caught in a setup. I, 28 male, am a data analyst. My job is to find patterns, to see the story that numbers tell when you strip away the noise. I thought the story of my life was stable. I had a good job, a clear career path, and for 3 years, a relationship with Lisa, 26. A core theme of her story, a line she repeated so often it became its own data point, was, "I'm fiercely loyal, it's everything to me." But other data points started to contradict the theme. Lisa loves the aesthetic of success, not the work, but the appearance of it. I noticed a pattern. At social events, her focus would drift from me to men with more obvious signs of wealth. A luxury car fob dropped on the table, a mention of a portfolio, a story about a European vacation. Her laughter would be a little louder for them, her attention a little sharper. Then she'd come home to me, kiss me, and talk about loyalty. The discrepancy was jarring. The event that triggered the analysis was at a friend's housewarming party. A guy named Anthony, who works in private equity, was talking about closing a big deal. Lisa was hanging on his every word. Later that night, as we were getting ready for bed, she was scrolling his social media profile. "He's just so ambitious," she sighed, then looked at me. "Don't you ever feel like you should be further along, Matthew? Like you should want more?" It wasn't a question about my happiness. It was a critique of my value. And in that moment, a cold, quiet hypothesis formed in my mind. Her loyalty wasn't to me as a person. It was an open contract, waiting for a better offer. I had to test the hypothesis. I called my best friend, Daniel, 28. We grew up together, but our lives diverged financially. I built my career from the ground up. He inherited a significant family trust and smartly grew it. He's genuinely the most grounded person I know and hates the rich guy persona, but he knows how to wear it when needed. "I need a huge messed up favor," I said, my voice tight. "I'm your guy for messed up favors," he replied. I laid it all out, the patterns, the comment, the gnawing feeling in my gut. "I need to know if I'm crazy," I concluded. "I need an irrefutable data set." Daniel was silent for a moment. "This is scorched earth, man. If you're wrong, telling her you did this will end things just as surely as if you were right." "I know," I said, "but I'd rather live with the consequences of my own paranoia than the consequences of her deception. I need to know now, not in 5 years with a house and a kid." He let out a long breath. "Okay, what's the protocol?" The plan was simple, designed for maximum effect with minimal variables. The location, Lisa's favorite upscale coffee shop, her post-yoga haunt every Tuesday and Thursday. The bait, Daniel would be there. He wouldn't be flashy, but he would be curated. A simple, well-tailored shirt, expensive watch, reading a financial paper on his tablet. The bait wasn't about being loud, it was about speaking her language. The interaction. He wouldn't approach her. He'd let her notice him. If she engaged, he'd be polite, charming. He'd mention he was in town for a few days, staying at the new 5-star hotel downtown, the Sovereign, while his primary residence was being renovated. The trap. If the conversation went well, he'd invite her for a drink that evening. If she accepted, the plan was to eventually suggest they leave the loud bar and have a better glass of scotch up in his suite. I booked the suite for that one night. A single, controlled environment. A single, exorbitant expense that I grimly charged to my credit card as a divorce attorney retainer. The day of the test felt surreal. I was at my desk, unable to focus, my phone face down beside me. In position. The Sovereign Suite is confirmed, feeling like a Bond villain. For the record, I hate this. Me. I know. I owe you one. Target is in the vicinity. She's ordering. My chest felt tight. This was it, the point of no return. She accidentally spilled a little of her drink walking past my table. The oldest trick in the book. We're engaged. She has not mentioned a boyfriend. When I asked, she gave the classic, "It's kind of complicated right now." 3 years. Complicated. The ice in my gut spread to my veins. The meet is on, 7 p.m. I told her I'd text her later. "Hey babe. So sorry, have to bail on movie night. Betty's having a crisis and needs a girls' night out. Be home super late, don't wait up for me." The lie was so casual, so effortless. Betty, her supposed alibi, was visiting her parents out of state. I knew this because I'd taken her dog out that morning as a favor. At 8:45 p.m., I was parked in a garage with a view of the Sovereign's entrance. My phone buzzed. She's agreed to come up to the suite. I'm texting you the room number. Give us 15 minutes, I'll leave the door ajar. The key is at the front desk under your name if it closes. On my way, a rideshare pulled up at 9:01 p.m. Lisa emerged wearing a sleek black dress I'd never seen, the kind you buy for an opportunity, not for a casual night out. She looked up at the glittering hotel, a wide, triumphant smile on her face, and disappeared inside. I walked across the street, my footsteps echoing in the quiet night. My heart was unnervingly steady. The data was collected. This was just the final report. I took the elevator up to the 24th floor. The hallway was silent. I found suite 2401, the door slightly ajar as promised. I pushed it open. The suite was opulent. A panoramic window showcased the city lights. Lisa was perched on the edge of a plush sofa, a glass of amber liquid in her hand, laughing at something Daniel had said. He was leaning against the wet bar, looking relaxed. I just think it's so important to be with someone who's ambitious, you know? She was saying, her voice full of meaning. Someone who wants to conquer the world. I let the door click shut. A small sound, but it cut through the room like a gunshot. Lisa's head whipped around. The smile evaporated. Her face went slack with shock, the color draining away, leaving her expensive makeup looking stark. The glass in her hand trembled. Matthew, she breathed, her voice a ghost. What are you doing here? I didn't look at her. My eyes were fixed on Daniel. I gave him a slow, tired nod. So, I asked, my own voice sounding distant to my ears. Is this the girl? Daniel held my gaze, his own expression grim. He looked at Lisa, then back at me. He gave a single sharp nod. Yeah, Matthew, this is the girl. Lisa made a small choking sound. She couldn't form a sentence, just a frantic, sputtering mess of, I can explain this isn't wait. And I just watched her, watched the calculations firing behind her eyes as she finally understood. She hadn't just been discovered. She'd been methodically, clinically, and successfully entrapped. Update 1, thank you for the comments and messages. It's strange to feel validated by strangers on the internet, but here we are. To be clear, nothing physical happened between Daniel and Lisa. He said she was leaning in, getting ready to make a move, right when I walked in. The plan was never to let it get to that point. Daniel has been a rock, though he still feels guilty for his role. I keep telling him he just held the camera. The immediate aftermath in the hotel suite was pathetic. There was no rage, no great confrontation. Just Lisa stammering excuses. She tried to say Daniel was a potential client for her company's dental supplies. When I pointed out he doesn't own a dental practice, she switched to saying he was a friend of a friend, and she was just being polite. I didn't engage. I just held out my hand. The key to our apartment, Lisa. No, Matthew, please, let's just go home. We can talk this out. This is crazy. You can't do this. You're right. I should have done this a long time ago. The key. Daniel finally said, Lisa, give him the key. She shot him a look of pure hatred. You set me up. He's my friend, was all Daniel said. Defeated, she finally pulled the key from her purse and dropped it in my hand. It was warm. I'll need some time to get my stuff, she said, her voice turning cold and hard. Take all the time you need, I said. Then I walked out. The real Lisa began to surface a few hours later. After a period of silence, my phone became a war zone. Dozens of missed calls. Then the texts, a fire hose of blame shifting and revisionist history. Lisa, I cannot believe your manipulative cruelty. To stalk me and trick me. I feel violated. I was being polite to a stranger. Is that a crime now? You are a paranoid, controlling monster. My friends will hear all about this. My family will hear all about this. You're gonna regret trying to ruin my life. And after everything I did for you, how dare you? And for the record, I'm not going anywhere. My name is on the lease. This is my home just as much as yours. You can't kick me out. That last text was the one that mattered. It was her declaration of war. Her name is on the lease. We have 7 months left. She thinks she can make my life so miserable that I'll be the one to leave, breaking the lease and taking the financial hit myself. She believes she is the wronged party. I went back to the apartment 2 days ago. She was there, on the phone with her mother. He's completely unhinged, Mom. I'm actually scared of what he'll do next. She saw me and her voice became louder, more performative. What do you want? She snapped after hanging up. We need to discuss logistics, I said calmly. Rent is due next week. Your half is $1,400. She actually laughed in my face, a sharp, ugly sound. Are you for real? You blow up my life, humiliate me, and now you want rent money? Get lost, you can pay it yourself since you were so eager to end things. I didn't argue, I just nodded. I went into my office, closed the door, and began a new project. Project name, Contractual Consequences. Step 1, Documentation. I screenshotted every text. I wrote down a detailed, time-stamped account of the hotel incident and our subsequent conversation. Step 2, Formal Communication. I sent her a single, formal email. Subject, Lease Obligation, Rent Payment Due. Lisa, this email is to formally request confirmation that you will be transferring your half of the rent, $1,400, on or before the first of the month, as per our binding lease agreement. Regards, Matthew. Her reply was swift. LOL. Good luck with that. I saved the email chain as a PDF. Step 3, Legal Action. I went online and filled out the paperwork to file a case in small claims court. The filing fee was $50. I know from experience that the wheels of justice grind slowly. The earliest court date I could get is in 3.5 months. She thinks this is a game of chicken. She thinks she can emotionally exhaust me into submission. She doesn't understand. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just processing data, and all the data points to the fact that she has made a severe miscalculation. The next few months are going to be hell, but I'm prepared to see the process through to its logical conclusion. Update 2. Living with a ghost is strange. Living with a hostile, entitled ghost is a unique form of psychological torture. For 2 months, Lisa and I have coexisted in our apartment like bitter strangers. The tension is so thick you could spackle walls with it. Her initial strategy was aggressive hostility. She decided to have her sister, Margaret, move in for emotional support. Margaret is Lisa with 10 extra milligrams of audacity. I let it go for a week. Then I sent Lisa a polite email with the relevant section of our lease attached, highlighting the 7-day limit for guests. I also sent a certified letter to our landlord documenting the unauthorized occupant. I didn't want to break the lease. I wanted to create a formal record of her violating it. The landlord's office sent a generic warning letter about a week later. It wasn't the swift action I'd hoped for, but it was a documented warning. Margaret, after a torrent of abuse directed at me, finally left. Lisa's next tactic was noise. She threw a massive party. Music blasting, people I've never seen spilling drinks on the floor. I didn't engage. I waited until 1 a.m., recorded a video of the chaos on my phone, and called the non-emergency police line to report a noise violation. It took them over an hour to show up, but they did. They gave her a warning. The next day, I emailed the video and the police report number to the landlord. Another entry in the file. But the biggest source of conflict has been her father. He called me, not to yell but to condescend. "Matthew, son," he began, his voice oozing fake concern. "Lisa told me about this little disagreement. Suing her? Reporting her to the landlord? Don't you think you're overreacting? A gentleman would just walk away, let her have the place. It's the right thing to do." "With respect, sir," I said, my voice flat, "the right thing would have been for her not to cheat on me. The second right thing would be for her to honor her legal agreements. She's chosen to do neither. You're going to ruin her future over a few $1,000. Her mother and I won't stand for it. Then I suggest you advise her to pay the rent she owes," I said, and hung up. I think her father's pride is the issue. In his mind, his daughter is the victim of a lunatic. Giving me money would be admitting she did something wrong, and he'd rather fund a war than admit defeat. Living here is draining. I've moved all my valuables and nice things into a small storage unit. I have a mini fridge in my office for my own food. I exist in my bedroom and my office. The rest of the apartment has become her sty. It's a constant, low-grade misery. Some nights, the sheer exhaustion hits me. I feel the loss of the woman I loved, the future I imagined. It's a heavy, hollow feeling. But then I remember the cold, hard facts of the situation, and I open my laptop and add another entry to my log. The first of this month came and went. No rent from her, as expected. I paid the full amount again. I filed a second small claims suit. The court dates are now set. The first one is in about 5 weeks. She's been served the papers for both. She just leaves them on the kitchen counter, unopened. She's living in a state of willful denial. She thinks this is all just paper. She's about to find out that paper has teeth. Final update. It's over. The final data has been tallied. The first court date was 4 months after the breakup. 4 months of sharing a home with someone who hated my guts. It was as draining as I'd imagined. I presented my case calmly. The signed lease, my bank statements showing I'd paid the full amount, the emails where she explicitly refused to pay. I had a binder, tabbed, and organized. Lisa's defense, delivered by an expensive lawyer her father hired, was a dramatic retelling of my cruel and unusual setup. The judge was unimpressed. He looked at her lawyer and said, "Counselor, this court is not here to adjudicate their breakup. It's here to adjudicate a contract. Did your client pay the rent she was legally obligated to pay?" The answer was no. Judgment for the plaintiff. I won the first 2 months of rent back, plus filing fees. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she would finally pack her things and go. I was wrong. Her father paid the judgment, but the defiance remained. She stayed put. So the miserable routine continued. Another month, another non-payment of rent, another small claims filing. The turning point, the real consequence, came from her own actions. Tired of living with me, she and her parents decided she would move on to bigger and better things. She found her dream apartment in a new high-end building. Her parents co-signed, paid the hefty deposit and first month's rent. She was approved, pending the final background check by the corporate office. She was insufferably smug for 2 weeks. She left the glossy brochure for her new building on the kitchen counter. Finally getting away from this toxic environment, she'd say loudly on the phone, "Moving on to a life I deserve." A week before her scheduled move-in, I heard a shriek from her bedroom. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated rage. She had received an email from the new building's management company. Her application had been denied. Unlike in a movie, it wasn't my friend who pulled the strings. It was something far more mundane and brutal, the system working exactly as designed. The standard background check they ran had flagged the finalized court judgment against her, a legal ruling in my favor for failure to pay rent. For a large, faceless property management corporation, that is the single biggest red flag a potential tenant can have. The co-signature from her wealthy parents couldn't override a legal finding that she was a credit risk. She lost the apartment. She lost her non-refundable vacation and administration fees. And she was stuck with me. That broke her. The next day, all her bravado was gone. She approached me, her face pale. "I'll be out by the end of the week," she said, her voice small. The night before she left, I found her standing in the empty living room, surrounded by boxes. "You ruined my life," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I hope you're happy." I stopped and looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger or exhaustion. I just felt a deep, weary sadness for the both of us. "I didn't do any of this, Lisa," I said, and the words felt heavy and true. "Your choices did this. The cheating, the refusal to pay rent, all of it. I'm just the one who held up the receipt. The consequences were always going to be yours." She didn't have an answer. Her parents came the next day with a moving truck. She moved back into her childhood bedroom. The second and third small claims cases were settled by her father's lawyer before the court dates. The judgments, however, will remain on her public record for years, a permanent stain on her credit and rental history. The life of effortless luxury she felt she was owed is now significantly harder to obtain. The apartment is quiet now. I've spent the last few weeks slowly reclaiming the space, bringing my things back from storage. It feels clean. Daniel came over and we drank a beer in the mostly empty living room. It was normal. It was peaceful. This wasn't a clever, triumphant revenge. It was a long, ugly, and exhausting process. It was the slow, grinding machinery of the real world. I had to be patient, meticulous, and willing to endure months of misery to see it through. But it's done. She built a reality based on lies and entitlement. and it collapsed under the simple weight of a signed contract. She faced the natural consequences of her actions. And for the first time in nearly half a year, my life feels stable again.